Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. And in this episode, we're going to give you our review for The Idol, now streaming on Max, starring Lily-Rose Depp and The Weeknd. We have a lot of thoughts to say about it. It is pretty expletitive, but nonetheless, I think it was okay. Dylan, why don't we start off with your thoughts?
Well, it's everything you expect from HBO, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice marriage of like Euphoria and Succession.
Sure.
It's this exposition into like the music industry, a lot of like, exposure of like the hypersexualization of like a lot of pop stars that we see in the media now. And I just love Lily's performance. I think she really encapsulated that. I think she nailed the whole, damaged icon role really well. That first scene got me, like when she had to make all those different faces and she did it like on the spot and she was able to like cry instantly. I knew like she knew her part really well. But yeah, let's get your thoughts on it.
Sure. Yeah. That first scene tells you everything you kind of need to know about the industry, but also the character of Jocelyn. It's really interesting to see someone cry like this. And, being a musician, especially in these days, is very taxing, I think, on the body and the soul. And especially when they own the rights, basically they can own the rights for, of your name, like they did with Miley Cyrus. Then who are you really? And so I think you become more fragile. And so we do see later The Weeknd, which I think The Weeknd plays this role really well too. I really like him as an actor. I'm not sure this is his first outing as an actor, but I think he has like great potential. But we do see that he is very... he's weird, man. He is weird. Yeah, with the rat tail. Right. So the show, if anybody's wondering, the show is... Well, there's a lot of nipples, but it's not like, there is like a picture. I'm not going to like go into detail too much, but there's like a picture. It's kind of what you would expect from like HBO. It kind of reminds me of the show called, I don't know if you guys have seen it, Industry. So it's like kind of a little bit like more looser with the sexual stuff. But for the most part, I think, and I'll be the first one to tell you like if it's too much or like, because I don't really like condone this type of stuff. I sometimes I find it unnecessary. But for this show, I actually find it, I think it makes a lot of sense. And you could kind of tell from the get-go what they're actually going for. I know that there is a controversy surrounding this series because there was a writer who thought that the direction of the show was completely going like completely off the rails.
Oh wow.
And so that's why she left. Yeah. And so like she felt like the meaning from the actual show has changed. So I can't tell so far. The episode's like 55 minutes or so. It's all right. For the most part, it's a lot of like Riz and like party scenes and it's very seductive and Lily-Rose Depp, of course, she plays that role really well. But there is something to her. You could see like there is a trauma, and they show that by like showing her smoking a lot. And I found that really interesting. And I wonder if like she was exhausted in this dance scene, and I wonder if it's like from all the smoking. So, and it's also a way, like smoking for like the longest time has been a way to like maintain your weight or lose weight, especially for models or singers. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it. But anyway, I talked long enough. Let's continue with your thoughts.
No, great points. Great points. And I think this episode was really good showcase of all the cast too, because it's a great ensemble cast. We have a lot of artists, like we said, like The Weeknd, Troye Sivan. We have Eli Roth as well, Dan Levy, Hank Azaria as Shame. I don't know if I'm butchering that name, but he was really funny in this episode. So the whole beginning was like this photo shoot. I guess it's like a promotional thing for her new hit single, and we just see like everybody's got their own part to play. That's why it made me kind of think of Succession, because it's like everybody. It's like her inner circle, and her best friend too, played by Rachel Sennott. She's like her assistant, and she tries to look out for her, but at the same time she's also working for, I guess, whatever industry or corporation that they sell music for. So it's like she has to be like on top of her too. So it feels like everybody's like kind of fake around her, and that's probably, real to life, right? It's like everybody just wants to exploit her for money, basically. They treat her honestly like a puppy. Like she's just like, oh yeah, she's a princess, and just give her whatever she wants, right? Yeah. But I like that, it also that we see Jocelyn has more to her. Like she seems like very intelligent, like she knows what she wants. and she's like that. I like that interview scene with the person from Vanity Fair, and they were like talking back and forth, and they were talking off the record and on the record, and about her past life and how she kind of reclaimed it for herself in a way, and how she wasn't like afraid of like the nude leaks of her, and she kind of like took it back, and she's like, well, I'm hustling basically. It's like I don't really care at this point. Maybe like a couple of years ago it would affect me, but now I know like it'll actually probably give me more clout in a way. So it's like I'm just using it, as like a weapon basically.
Yeah. I like that scene too. And I wonder why this drastic change to. So of course they're emulating a lot of Britney Spears. They even mentioned that her mother died. So like I really wonder what's with this drastic change where it's like now hypersexual, and why doesn't she care? Because normally a person would feel embarrassed, and she did feel embarrassed, but in her only way to like it's kind of cathartic in a way. She goes out to party, and that's where she meets the Weeknd. But I really want to know what happened before. Why did she become this person? And I think actually she was popular when she was younger. If I'm not mistaken, I think I heard that somewhere there. And she was like a childhood star or something like that. I mean, I like how they got like all these riffs from like actual celebrities. Like we see Miley Cyrus and then Britney Spears. But she meets the Weeknd. That's like the main part. If you look at the trailers, it looks like a toxic relationship, and it looks like he's going to, I don't even know what's his game, because he has like a club. So, of course, celebrities are going there. So he manipulates her for some reason. It might be just because he can control her, and that's the actual goal at the end of the day. But it's also, I could see why she's feeling affectionate towards him, because in the first place, anyway, she seems like a very sexual person. And so he plays onto that. And it's just something very fun for her. And he does his game. Like he has good game. And so even that scene, like she's a little bit masochistic too. I thought that was really interesting how they did that, where like they were talking about, you sing the song, but it doesn't seem like you know sex that well. And so he shows her, like he seduces her, and he puts over that like robe, which was interesting because that's the same robe we see from the beginning. And he's like choking her. And then I feel like I should do ASMR, and like he choked her. and that's really cool. That was a cool visual, because then he cuts the hole in the mouth for her to actually breathe. Like, I have the power. I'm the one who's letting you breathe. And she kind of likes that, and she feels addicted to that.
Yeah, and there was a scene before that actually where like she was like pleasuring herself, and she was actually like choking herself too.
Right.
And now it made sense to me, because like when he put the ribbon around her, like I guess it's like in a way kind of her source of like inspiration, because he told her, he was like, the way you find your voice, right? It's because, right, what she's doing kind of feels superficial. It's like what the company wants, but not what she wants. So she's trying to, in a way, make her own art in a way. But then again, it's like, yeah, she's doing like all this hypersexual shit. So it's not like she's really like doing her own thing. It's kind of like feeding to the market almost.
Yeah.
But she wants to find her own voice. And then Tedros, which the character the Weeknd plays, he's like, he does this very like masochistic technique where like he puts the robe over and then like I thought he was gonna like stab her for a minute when he had the knife out, but he cuts like a small hole in the mask and like lets her breathe out. So I thought that was interesting that like even in her most private moments, she still thinks about that moment.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like she's using it as like inspiration for herself in a way.
Yeah, and I saw from the preview for next episode, she changes the song, and they said like there's a lot of heavy breathing and this and that. So I feel like the show is about showing the snowball effect of how you're a star, especially probably a childhood star, and you go down into like the bottom, rock bottom, you hit it. And I wonder if there will be a very chaotic moment near episode 6, because this show only has 6 episodes. And I wonder if you'll see a meltdown similar to Britney Spears, although that might be exploitative in a way. And what's interesting is, again, they pull on these different sources. So, like, for example, they showed Sharon Stone, Leah, and Jocelyn were watching Fatal Attraction. And of course, everyone knows Sharon Stone for that infamous scene where she reveals herself. And a lot of people now are scolding her for like years about that scene, which at the time was revolutionary. No, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but it was something like really different that people haven't seen before, especially in mainstream media. And now we're seeing a lot more of that from Max and stuff like this. But you know what's funny? I actually was watching what's the show called? It's called The Duggar Family or something like that. 19 Kids and Counting. I watched this, and this is just a small like side note. I watched this documentary on them, and I didn't know that Warner Brothers is owned by Discovery. And Discovery at the time, they were really like low. They weren't people that were really popular, but they found their niche, and their niche was exploitative media, reality TV. And what people like to see was not a success story. People like to see a shit show. So people watched 90 Day Fiancé from TLC, Crazy Addictions. And at the time, this is like the strings that were pulled. Like everyone loved seeing this. And it's really interesting how Max does a lot of like exploitative stuff. I think they're kind of leading in the sexual, you know, just showing a lot of like crude sexual scenes and stuff like that. I just kind of feel like it's a meta in a way. It's a weird side note, but I just feel
it's
like
very meta.
Yeah. And
it's like pulling the curtain back
right.
on a lot of, and I feel like that too with like Succession too. It's like pulling the curtain back on like a lot of titans and, you know, big tech or big companies, whatever. And here, you know, it's the music industry. I feel like is even more toxic.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, because it's very manipulative, especially when stars are so young, and they're, you know, you're basically saying yes to everything because, you know, at the end of the day, you want the fame, and the fame kind of leads you down to these very self-destructive behaviors that you can't come back from right away. And yeah, it's like you said, like everybody wants, it's like what Green Goblin said in Spider-Man 1. It was like everybody will begin to hate you eventually. Because it sells, right? That's the end of the day. That's why they're doing it, because it sells, right?
All right.
And they'll probably end up, you know, finding the next Jocelyn. Who knows at the end of this series too? I guarantee.
Oh yeah, and if anything, they'll probably ask the Weeknd, "Do you have like any side chicks? Maybe like they could sing." I mean, yeah, but you know what though? Like it's a cold world at the end of the day. You know what's funny? They gave this show on Rotten Tomatoes a 24%. I don't think this show warrants that so far. I know there are people who watch screenings of this already, and probably that's what the critics base it off is the whole entirety. So that does concern me. I do wish that they showed at least maybe they gave like us episode 2, maybe, you know, just to get us in, because I'm not like fully immersed into the experience so far.
I agree. Yeah. I can't really judge the whole series because we've only had the first episode out now, but I feel like the first half got me interested, and then the second half with all the partying shit kind of like lost me a bit. And I was like, well, I get what they're going for, but it's like I'm not 100% invested yet. I still want to see, like, you know, like you said, like her background. How did she end up with this mental illness that they keep mentioning, and why she wanted to start out with this career anyway? If I had to rate this episode, probably I'll give it 7 out of 10, because I think it was a good world builder and a good showcase of Jocelyn, right? And she is the star of this show, right? And I think it was perfect for her character to show like who she is, the people around her. And also I think it was interesting, like, you know, it's so meta, like we talked about, like they had like the actual like choreographers and the dancers, and I thought that was really cool too. But how would you rate this, my friend?
Yeah, I probably will give it I think a 7 is fair, but I'm gonna give it a 6 just because it's weird. It's not really critiquing the actual episode. I think they should have just, probably it is, but they should have released episode 2 as well, because again, I'm not fully invested yet. It's a lot of moments are very ethereal. Like the music they have on, I'm not sure if The Weeknd had some songs that I'm probably sure he did create some songs for this series, but and then the music was very overpowering sometimes. So like that just shows you that it's really the moment that we want to display here, and the seduction, and that's fine and all, but like at least with Euphoria there was like beautiful music, but also, you know, the dialogue was very poignant, and it was really impactful. I didn't feel really impacted by this episode so far, but the performances were great. I can't wait to see what they're going to do for next episode, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be more toxic, and I bet with you, Leah and Jocelyn are going to have a huge fight, and it's going to be really, really personal, of course. So yeah, but that is our review Dylan, why don't you take us away?
Well, guys, let us know what you think of this series. This will be our new Sunday review series every week, so check it out. You know, like we said, there's only 6 episodes, so check out our week by week reviews. But yeah, check out our other playlists. We do other HBO shows as well. We wrapped up Succession and Barry, sadly, but check out those reviews. We have so much content planned, guys. You don't even know, we're so busy. But yeah, we're so grateful to all our supporters. 400 subs.
Yay!
Oh my God, you don't know how that makes me feel, guys. We love you so much. Thank you for supporting us any way you can. Like, comment, share, anything helps the channel. We just reviewed a non-spoiler screening from The Flash also. That was really cool. So check that out as well. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. And until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.